How do you deal with embarrassment? Embarrassment is one of the emotions that's very similar to fear. It's something that we don't often want to feel. Now, there are people that are those kind of adrenaline type junkie people that love fear and they love horror. And those are the people that like horror movies and like, the scary things around Halloween. And they just love that kind of thing because it gives them a bit of a rush. I'm not one of those people particularly, but there are people that do like that emotion. But for the most part, fear and horror and embarrassment and shame are things that we normally try to avoid. How to deal with embarrassment is the same way you would deal with fear. It's putting yourself in that situation, acknowledging the emotion more commonly and more regularly in your life, and understanding that it is a normal emotion. It's the same as anger, it's the same as sadness, it's just a different kind of emotion. We're often embarrassed because of the way we think other people are going to see us or interpret what we say or do, and we're worried about someone else's thoughts and actions and reactions to what we do or what we have done. And it makes us feel embarrassed or it makes us feel ashamed. Now, normally, again, it's a story we're telling ourselves and it's not the actual thought the other person is having. It's not their actual emotions. It's something that we've come up with as a worst case scenario. We do that a lot. We do it with fear. That's why it holds us back from things. What if something goes wrong? What if this happens? What if this doesn't work out? We tend to go into that negative thought train. And if we switch things around and say, what if this works out? What if this happens and it's a good thing? What if this happens for me in the best way possible? And we start training ourselves to think differently about it and expose ourselves to those moments where we have a little bit of fear and we overcome it, a little bit of embarrassment and we overcome it. Again, a lot of times we're embarrassed by something that other people don't even notice, don't even think about, and would not judge us for in the way that we feel that they would. That's something that we do internally, and it creates those emotions based on something that's not always there. So putting yourself in the position where you do something where you would normally feel a little shy or embarrassed is the same way as taking a step towards something that you would do that you normally be fearful of, or you'd be anxious of, or you'd have a little bit of apprehension around. So going out to a restaurant alone, going to a movie alone, a lot of times people will be embarrassed by that or afraid to do it because they think they're being judged. They think that people will think certain things about them because they're there alone. That's just one example that I hear a lot. But most of the time, people are worried about what they're doing, not what you're doing, especially when it's not a big thing. Sure, there are moments in life where something happens to us and more eyes are on us and it's a bigger situation and it can be more of an embarrassing thing. But for the most part, when we go through that emotion, it's for small things like what I just mentioned with going to the movies or the restaurant alone. And while we feel embarrassed, it's something that we've created in our own minds as requiring that emotional response to. And in fact, it's just made up. And the more we do it, the less that emotion has control over us, the less power the fear has, the less power we have given it, and then the less power we give to that feeling of embarrassment as well. So we're not going to be as easily embarrassed by the next thing that comes up because we felt that. We've realized that that's just something that I'm making up in my mind and I don't need to continue to feel that way. I need to acknowledge that I'm feeling that way now, but I don't need to continue feeling that way. I need to allow myself to be confident and to think about things from a different perspective and not internalize it too much. So that's one way that you can work on overcoming embarrassment and fear.